I think it has to be.
You want to talk about that school?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing too. I really would like to. Yeah.
Only because my question is what is being taught, because if I told little white kids to trust the stats, the way little black kids are told to trust the stats, this is white shaming and this is okay. Now, obviously, you can't be like, shame on your skin. Another crazy week.
Welcome to Bridging Civil Tension here. 21-6 the Ned. You're caught in it. Of course, he's Phil Wallace. I'm Kent Jones. This show is where we'd rather bridge the civil tension than burn the bridge.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes it's better to have a good conversation, disagree, love each other, and keep moving on.
Yes, sir.
Than it is to hate. So we hope that we can spread a little love. Let's see if I can fade this out like a real producer.
People in radio land.
Oh, look at that.
Can't
Little
tell me that
fade
don't feel
out.
good.
God, that's great. I don't know what I'm doing, folks.
Just in your winging it.
Big shout out to my good friends over at, you guessed it, Restoration One. Water, what does they say? They're water damage experts. Water damage experts. They are awesome. Joe Turner, Christine Ditzler, love y'all. Thank you. Check them out at www.restoration1.com/Carrie. These guys are awesome. Look at that. I told them I'd swag them out, give them a shout out. That's what I did.
It looks smooth too.
Oh, I like it. It's a good fit. I'm happy. Big week.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
Big week, right? Listen, a lot of dirty shit going on all over the world. It's the only way that all over the United States.
All over. Yeah.
It's the only way that I can say it. But we would not be doing our job here on this show, Phil, if we didn't bring up the George Floyd murder trial and the verdict that came out there.
Right.
So this cop, Chauvin, whatever, dirty cop, second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and
it's like 3 cases.
Yeah, like 3 different murder things. Going to be put away for his sentence.
Yeah, there we go.
What
they said to the public is that he will be
his sentence. Well, and I say his sentence because if he gets put in Gen Pop, his sentence isn't going to last that long.
No, he's going to get
not
popped.
That dirty cop.
He's going to get popped.
Right? I mean,
you know, a lot of people.
It's a life sentence. Just put it that way.
Distaste for him.
Right. What was your thought when that came down? What was your feeling? What was your reaction?
Try not to celebrate too loudly. No. It's unfortunate that I had to come to this. I mean, it was cool to see some sort of justice sentencing been done. I felt that it was the safest verdict to do. And you hate to have to say that, but if it didn't go in a certain direction, I didn't want to see any type of backlash or rioting or looting. Right. I didn't want that to happen. So I'm glad that they saw that in this situation, serve justice, do things the right way. And
so, and you say that there was some justice there. Tell me about that. Was there justice? Because like AOC and a lot of people, we're talking like, no, that's not justice. Justice is if George Floyd was able to go home and kiss his wife or whatever. Justice is if that 15-year-old girl or whatever could go, whatever, right? So that's why I asked. You felt there was justice. Was there justice then?
Obviously not complete justice, like you're saying. Justice is them being able to go home, because if they stole, they should be able to serve their time.
Yeah.
And then go home at the end of it. In this situation, I just meant from the fact of this isn't going to be a situation where they say found innocent and then the cop gets to go back to work.
Right.
So then George Floyd doesn't go home and he gets
he was able to 12 other times.
Right. And then Derek was able to go back to work after taking someone's life.
Right. So, and here's what now I followed the case a little bit. I didn't watch any of it. I don't have cable or anything like that. And I spend most of my time listening to 21.6 The Net. Thank you. The interesting thing is I didn't say there was justice. It's a court of law. And guess what? He broke the law.
Right.
And now he has to, the law was upheld. It was murder. Done. I don't care what happened before. I don't care who it was. It was a dirty cop. He had a record of being dirty.
13 cases.
13 different ones. And guess what? The law came through.
Right.
It was it. I listened to an interview from one of the jurors, and one of the jurors was like, the defense, I think that's who, right? They defended him. So the defense, they said, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this in our defense. And they did none of it. That's why it was only like a 10-hour deliberation, because, I mean, the prosecution had such a strong case,
right.
and the defense did nothing. They didn't bring what they said they would, and they go, because the defense really, their job was to create reasonable doubt or whatever.
They
didn't do that.
George Floyd's character versus what happened.
Now, the interesting thing, though, and I'm going to bring this up, all right, and feel free to chime in and comment. And this will probably irritate a lot of people. Not once in this hearing was race brought up. But yet, the United States blew up, and a lot of racial tension. So why wasn't race brought up once in this case?
During the trial?
Yeah.
You have to be very strategic with your words and try not to say things that would incite any type of response. And so I feel with enough practice, certain groups are really good at being able to avoid saying things about race in order to still continue to do what they do. If I know that you're looking for me to say race in this trial, so I won't say that word.
Well, no, this was the straw that really broke the tension in America, right? I mean, this was the last line where African Americans, brown skin, colored people were like, "Not this. We've had enough.
Right.
It's time to shout. It's time to be heard. Kneeling silently doesn't work, so it's time to be heard." Right.
Right.
And I find it, and then where does my mind go? Right. My mind goes back to 90s. Instead of following DNA or whatever, if the glove doesn't fit, right, go back to the OJ case. But I'm like, okay, so they stuck to the law in this. How do you prove in a court of law that somebody's racist and it was racially motivated? Well, then that might have been what the defense wanted to say. Oh, look at all these people that he saved that are a different color, nationality, whatever. So, I mean, I just found it interesting. But then as soon as the verdict came out, the president and everybody else is like, this is a great day, and I'm like, this is.
You have to understand why the president would say that, though. Because he understands that, like, as a minority, when you watch these trials, typically it's not going to go in your favor.
But I don't think it's a great day. I mean, it was great for that case. But after that case, we see in the news 7, 8. I mean, you're like, what the hell? So to me, race wasn't part of that trial. We come out and say it's a great day, and again, that's the man trying to. He's the president. He's been in the system for 50 years, and this is him saying, "Great day." No. If it was a great day, the last 7 things that came behind it wouldn't have happened.
There would have been at least
is that fair for me to say?
There would have been some sort of decline in the numbers. They ramped right back up. But that's where you have certain people who didn't like how that's going to go, so we're going to make up for it.
And I mean, there are things that happened this week that came out of police shooting people, and some of them were just, and some of them were not. You and I talked about the 15-year-old girl who is, going to stab somebody. And I mean, her parents were there. It was not a good situation all around. Right. And she's the cop is sitting there saying, "Put the knife down." He's doing his best to de-escalate it, and then she goes after. Did
you see the video?
I won't watch them because I don't like running over a squirrel.
Right.
So I mean, to watch somebody take somebody's life, I won't.
So it starts off, he gets out the car and she swings on a person from me to the camera.
Yeah.
I'm the officer. I could have stopped things here.
Yeah.
This person gets knocked to the ground, turns and takes a swing at a person by the TV.
Yeah.
So from me to the TV. I think this is taser distance.
You and I talked about that. Yeah.
I think that from here, and I'm not a great shot, but I would think.
And she didn't have a winter coat on or anything.
For this versus being able to just, again, she's not running and zigzagging. Because there's a car on the other side of the TV. So they're stuck right there.
I get it. Well, that's where you and I said that, right?
So
we talked about that.
It could be justified based off of just she had a knife, officer took her down.
Yep.
Could have saved that girl's life. Could have also just tased
and
the girl.
he did save one girl's life.
I don't know who swings with laid out that way.
But now,
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's going to be able to be justified.
Right.
I've had this conversation. It's going to be able to be justified because people are going to say that. But I just feel that there's another option, and maybe it's also because of how much police to minority violence. Where it's like
the boy crying wolf, right? Here it is again. Right.
Like try the taser for once.
So
other than because the only taser situation I saw was the lieutenant who was sitting in his car with his hands out. That's when they went.
So I'm glad you said that, and you and I talked about that. And I haven't been trained for those situations. To me, what's more disturbing for me as a person, I don't care what color you are, what race you are, what sex you are. Listen, if somebody pulls a gun on me, whether it's a good guy or a bad guy, and they like, hey, lay an egg, I'm going to try my best to lay an egg.
Right.
Because I'm scared of what's going to come out of that gun. Right. When I had a gun in a bank robbery pointed at my head and the robber says, get on the ground. If you want to live, get on the ground. Guess what I did? Yeah. Hey, buddy. Me and that carpet got real close, right?
How you doing?
Hey. So the fear of, and especially in today's elevated tension, right? For somebody not to be afraid of that I think that's the problem. Listen, that girl, I don't know what created the rage in that girl.
She's being jumped.
Right?
So
and
I'm being jumped. I call the police to get these people off my lawn.
But then the police are there, back off, let the police do their job, but you're swinging a knife. Her parents were there, right? I mean,
I've seen in other cases where people who have weapons are told it was in self-defense. And then Kyle got a chance to walk right by the police officers.
I get it.
So we can kill people and then walk up with an IR, but we can't have a butter knife.
Well, it wasn't a butter knife.
It was a small steak knife.
It ain't a butter knife, right? It's meant to cut meat. So hey, Ashley, how are you? Sadly, they were all foster family. Oh yeah, see, I mean, and therein lies a whole different set of circumstances too, right? But now again, and you and I talked about this briefly. I mean, she wasn't wielding an Uzi or a semi-automatic or something like that. She had a steak knife. So if I'm a police officer with backup, perhaps I'm reaching for the taser.
Right.
Maybe. I haven't been trained, but my thought would be, again, as you said, I'm close enough to hit this girl with the taser. This is gonna, subdue her, enough to allow me to apprehend her.
And I mean, if I'm watching someone run out from the corner, I have enough time to taser. Ma'am, put the knife down. Put the knife down. Back away. Back away.
Correct.
What seems to be the problem?
I have my taser, right?
As soon as I see someone running this way,
yeah. Right.
I'm going to let you get from this corner and hit someone here without any type of warning or telling you to stop. Then when you turn to get there, I'm going to say, drop the knife, drop the knife. Well, you're already in rage. Mm-hmm. I can still put you down with this taser. I'm going to go over this side.
Right. Well, that's you and I, right? I mean, now again, we're not police officers, nor have we been trained to de-escalate a tense situation. But that's the first thing I said too. I was like, that's probably, to me, and you don't know how old the person is necessarily. And right. I mean, you were not a small individual at 15, 14, right? No. I was maybe 5 foot. I was very small. But the interesting thing is, then that's what we talked about, is why not try tase first, take her down, and then let me just stop this argument there. Well, the taser doesn't work 100% of the time. I get it. Well, bullets miss too sometimes, right? Now, their job is to always. A police officer is trained to eliminate the threat, right? So you're like, hey, 4 shots and close range into the back. All right. And again, eliminate the threat, but maybe a taser would have done the same thing, the same type of elimination.
1 shot,
wouldn't
2 leg shots,
So it's there now. Now at the same time, the young lady who was being attacked said he's a hero, right? So, I mean, we got, and she's African-American too, so, I mean, we got half the people saying bad, and we got the people who were like, well, he's a hero, he saved my life, right?
Yeah, okay,
Mark Hall, how are you?
Hi, buddy.
Mark says, the world is so dependent on perception. One person can perceive the situation one way, and a different person perceives it another way. We all need to be open to perception.
Right. I agree.
So
my question is, so the girl who was saved said that this man's a hero.
Yep.
Okay. So the catchphrase that I hear all the time, let me play devil's advocate.
Yep.
When people were attacking Kyle, it was justified that he killed them. When she was getting jumped, now the people
has he had his day in court? I don't know.
No, I'm just saying when Kyle shot the people, they said, well, of course he shot them. They were jumping him. They were attacking him.
He was just in doing that.
He was just in protecting himself. Yeah. They sought him out with violence. Yeah. He retaliated.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all came here to jump her. She protected herself. We didn't shoot Kyle because he was just. We shot her. Now the people who came out to jump a girl are the ones that we should feel valid by. I would be thankful that a person saved my life. Right. But you told me over here that people jumping one individual, those were the bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Melissa, good morning. Thanks for jumping in. It just seems to be situational. Why not create training that is the same across the board in all states? Eliminating the threat is one thing. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I will say this, defunding the police will not help that. They need more money to be trained better. And I said this morning at a coffee group. Listen, 6 months of learning how to drive a police car and shooting at the range should not make you a police officer. Right? That's the training, basically. Right? Listen, now more than ever, I think police need to have some sort of psychological degree. You got to be able to talk with people. You got to be able to understand people's situations. You got to be able to look at the situation, right? Instead of reacting like, pat. Right? Now, 9 times out of 10, the police are rolling up, full flak jackets, the whole works, and the people who they're going after, nothing. They have a knife or a gun or whatever, or maybe neither, right? So you got to think, all right, I'm pretty well protected this way, and I can stand behind the car. I mean, whatever, right? It is. Mary, thank you. Good morning. Devil's advocate. How well trained is our police force if these things keep happening? Are they really, quote, trained to diffuse these situations? Or are there? And that's kind of what I was just saying.
Right.
No. I mean, hey, I went to the police academy. We've all seen the movies. If you haven't, look them up. But you understand? Yeah, hey, I went to the police academy. Not everybody does. Listen, you can pull up a paper, and at any time you can read that the police in your county are hiring, and you just have to be 25 or younger or something like that, right? Or 40 or younger, So, hey, I want to be. Well, why do you want to be? Okay, come on in. We'll run a background check on you. Here's your badge, gun. We'll take about 6 months. We'll do some push-ups. We'll shoot at the range.
Right.
We'll teach you how to drive while looking at a computer, and we're good to go.
Understood that.
Not distracted driving, right? Ashley, thank you. The shooting will be justified as she was going to stab someone else, but I definitely agree. I feel a taser would have worked or a shot in the leg. This is a tough one because it's all domestic. The officer did do his job the way he was trained in this situation. Just wish he could have saved both of their lives. Now, here's the other thing. Maybe the guy's just a bad freaking shot. Maybe he was trying for the leg. Missed. This isn't a leg shot. I'm just saying, who knows? Maybe he's cross-eyed. He's got one of those eyes that looks the wrong way. I don't know, right? Hey, Gary from Singapore. How are you? Thanks for chiming in. So the other thing is this. The first out, right? The first video footage, the first whatever, that's what happened. So it's out quick, and we form our opinion there. Right. We missed somebody getting kicked in the head in this particular situation, being jumped, whatever, and we missed all of that. Right. So it comes out, and then of course LeBron gets in a little trouble. Hashtag you're next.
Yeah. He Gary Langed himself too fast.
Oh, he did. He did. God love you. And LeBron, thanks for tuning in today. 2169. Love the Lakers. I followed you since you were in high school. I think you're great. All right. So, but the bottom.
Was what he tweeted bad? Because I heard that it was to entice violence towards police officers by him saying that. He's trying to incite.
Yeah. Let me get to that in a second. The situation was to neutralize his threat given the 7 to 10 seconds from the time he stepped into the girl rushing. Yeah. Yes. And a taser may have done this. May have done the same thing. Ooh, Gary Lang. And of course, we don't have them as a sponsor. Thank you. We say that as the person. What? We say that as the person, not the, unless you got a big fat check, and then I'm a whore for that. Yeah, he did.
Gary Lang himself.
He did. Right in public. So the issue is, and what America has to see is that there has to be change. I don't like the word reform. You have to change it from top to bottom.
Right.
Okay. Back when I was a kid, back in the 70s and 80s, the police tended to talk to people. Now, most people didn't have AR-15s and things like defense weapons, right? And it was a little different time. I still think, no matter how mad somebody is, you can still talk with them, tase them, beanbag them, do something to diffuse it.
Right.
But what happens is, I don't think that there's enough. Just how do I talk this down? You know what I'm saying? It's like having a jumper on the ledge.
Yeah, I talk.
Now he's off. There you go.
He's down.
Right? And they have to wait for the professional. Well, why can't they all have that kind of training? That's what they need, is that training. Right. And we have to stop being afraid of the people who are supposed to protect us. However, They give us no reason. Right?
I mean, and if you're taught that these types of people are just prone to violence and there is no talking sense into them.
Right. Now the other thing too is PTSD with these people. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not just the shooting PTSD. I mean, police roll up on car accidents and people are maimed and guts. I mean, there's a lot of mental.
Yeah, it's mentally taxing.
Yeah, right. And you have to put away your ego or whatever and say, man, listen, I rolled up on this auto accident. The body was beheaded. I'm really having trouble with this. I mean, serious trouble. Right. But they're maybe afraid to lose their job or be called a sissy in the locker room. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, God, there's Jones. He can't take a car accident. You know, I don't know. But the bottom line is, if we roll back to the George Floyd verdict, is I think that case was dealt with correctly.
Right.
But I can't say justice happened.
No. That's why I didn't get super overly excited about it, because it is one trial of many trials, and I knew this week was coming.
Yeah.
Where they're going to make up for the verdict of this trial. And then so if this trial went the way that went, for the next 5 go the way things usually go.
Yeah.
What do we accomplish?
Well, right, and that's why I say the president did his job. But truth be told, that's just word out of the man's mouth. Yeah, hey, justice, so there needs to be reform. Well, okay, words are great; they mean nothing.
Right.
What has actually happened? Where's the action behind it?
But you at least got to give them credit for trying to say the words that certain people want to hear versus just throwing gas on the fire.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right. But if we talk about the systemic piece of it, that's just the system trying to calm everybody, right?
Coach Hamilton says the Raiders would disagree because they said, "I can breathe."
Yeah,
I didn't understand why the Raiders. Did you see that? The Raiders on 420 they posted, "I can breathe." The T-shirts where I can't breathe.
The football team Raiders.
Raiders posted like on their social media, and they got like immediate backlash. Like, no, not okay. Saying that you can breathe now because he's going to go to jail.
Right.
Not the time to do that.
Why?
You don't.
A lot of people are happy about it. Okay, so you own a company and you put that out there. That's fine. That's on. It's like that when we were talking about flying that big flag down south, and that's the only flag.
Come on, Gary.
Yeah, down south. Everyone in the world right now is on edge and defensive. No. Everyone in America. We've got some people around the world that listen to this. Gary's in Singapore. We had some people from Cameroon join us this morning. It's America. It's not the world. So we have to stop saying that because the world is not on edge. Hey, you go over to Spain, people love each other over there, right? So everyone is afraid of anything that could pop off. That is why this is all becoming quote unquote normal situation. Everyone needs to find peace and respect and love. Absolutely. I agree with that last statement. I mean, that's, hey, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the 2 laws that all the laws of the prophets hang on, right?
Popsicle stick thing.
Hey, that's it, right? But yeah, we here as Americans have to put our ego away, and it's not the world; it's America, right now. And Gary has said it on other shows. America is a baby country, right?
Right.
Look at Gary says only in America. Across the pond here, we're not really worried because we have our own things to settle here. Right. And if you kill somebody with a gun, it's the death penalty over there. They don't have too much gun violence in Singapore because it's the death penalty.
You're gone.
Done. And same thing if you're dealing drugs over there. Done. You get caught dealing drugs, it's the death penalty. Don't have a big right? So yeah, it is America, and our egos are like, oh, the whole world. No, the whole world is. We're only 200 years old. We're a baby compared to many countries. We're a baby, and we're trying to figure these things out. But what we forget is 90% of the U.S. population has never been outside the United States. I've never been. I mean, I haven't even been to Mexico. I think I went to Canada when I was a kid, but
see the world, man. Viva la. Anyway,
right. So the interesting thing is we have to understand this isn't a global thing. This is in our own yard.
right.
Our neighbors, which happen to be the other nations of the world, are looking at us going, Jesus. We're that yard that has 6 broken down cars, 3 old dogs, long grass,
lawn gnomes.
lawn gnomes. Just it ain't good. Yeah, only 244 years old compared to many of the other Asian countries. I mean, they've been around a long time. So how does, and I posted this, and believe it or not, you send me some links. I'm part of many Black Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter in suburbs and things like that, right? And I posted, I agree with people. This is horrible. It's absolutely atrocious. But I find that a lot of people on those websites, those groups and whatnot, they're angry, and all they want to do is just blah, 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 blah. So I agreed with some people. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I absolutely agree. I think defunding or taking money away from the police is the wrong thing. We need to invest it in the right places instead of perhaps armored cars and more bigger machine guns or whatever. No, don't make them a military. We've got military for that. Give them training on how to police, how to psychological training and how hours of it, right? But I posed a question out there. Yeah, I agree. How do we fix it? And do you know how many comments I got on that? None. Zero.
None. But we had the conversation, I think, week before last or last week, where we talked about, is more training, if the system allows you to get away with it, going to be the case? Like the situation of the kid in Knoxville, where he got shot in the bathroom at his school by police officers. And they said that he shot at the police officers, but then body cam footage that came out a month and a half later showed the police officer just shot himself and blamed it on the kid. So as a police force, if we know that we're hiding evidence on police cameras or body cameras, is it the training, or is it the system that says, hey, listen, this is what we need you to say when you make your statement so that we can get you clear of this?
Well, and that goes back to the world's largest gang and the cone of silence, right? Or the wall of silence.
If I can still get my video footage is going to be edited, and they're going to know, hey, Kent shot the kid, but we're going to hide the footage so that we can't. Was it Kent's training, or is it Kent knows that we'll hide the footage for him?
Right. I need you to turn this dash cam off just for a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
when I scratch my head, turn it back on.
That means a sign to turn the camera off.
Right. And that don't think it don't happen. It happens.
No, we know, and that's where we talk about the PTSD. You got to think about it. If I'm a kid in Chicago or New York, where you know that it's famous for NYPD doing terrible things.
Yep.
I've probably seen friends of mine harassed or whatever, so I might take off running.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I say that once police are accountable for breaking the law, that's when things will start to change. So it's a move in the right direction. The verdict, but until more of them.
Right.
And again, we hear the word justified, but it's a court of law. It's not a court of justice.
Right.
So, okay, you shot that girl in the back 4 times. Give me your gun, give me your badge, and sit over here until your time in court. Right? There.
Or something more than, you can't work for McHenry Police Department, but you can work for Crystal Lakes.
Right. And keep in mind, this goes on your permanent record, and everywhere you go, it should be like child predators, right? This cop
is prone to.
You should be able to take your phone, boop, right on that badge, and it says, "Oh, this cop is a child molester. This cop has killed 3 people." You know what I'm saying?
Can someone please create this?
Right? I mean, if we can do it to watch predators, why can't we do it to watch bad people? It's an idea. App makers.
App makers.
The part of why they run, why they are scared, why people resist is exactly what needs to be talked about and fixed. Can't fix that until people feel safe. Exactly. Right? Doesn't
We had that conversation.
you have two responses that you are born with: fight or flight.
Right.
And because they don't feel safe, you resort
Right.
to those. Right now, the other thing that I want to talk about today is the article that I sent you, and it says elite K through 8 school teaches white students they're born racists. So if you want to see this post or whatever, okay, it's a private school. An elite Manhattan school is teaching white students as young as 6 they're born racist and should feel guilty benefiting from white privilege while heaping praise and cupcakes on their black peers. Depends what kind of cupcakes.
Yeah. This is nothing but
I'm
cake.
sorry.
Like,
There you go.
I need more of the details.
The red velvet? Are we
There's
in
not
there?
enough
Come on.
evidence for me to.
That's right. It says here that administrators at the Bank Street School for Children on the Upper West Side claim it's a novel approach to fighting discrimination and that several other private New York schools are doing it. But even liberal parents aren't buying it. They complain the K through 8 school of 430 kids is separating whites in classes where they're made to feel awful about their whiteness. And all the kids of color, quote unquote, in the other rooms where they're taught to feel proud about their race and are rewarded with treats and other privileges. What's your take on that when you read this, Phil?
I'll let you go first.
So here's the interesting thing, and the thing that bothers me most about this is Dr. King, Rosa Parks, everybody fought for desegregation. And now this school is segregating, right? So they're pulling these people out. Now this is not just a class that's happening. This is how the school is operating.
Right.
And then they allow the black and brown students to come in with their cupcakes all happy and jovial after these white kids have been browbeat for being born white. To me, okay, my definition of racism is the definition that yeah. So Gary says, yeah, over here we saw these articles. Most of us shake our heads and went, cray. Yeah. My definition of racism is that someone feels that there is a superior race.
Right.
Okay. So this school is teaching racism, saying that white is a superior race. And the segregation, right, is proving that. And what they're trying to do is to say white is not, but you can't, a kid isn't, I didn't pick my parents.
Right.
God made me this way.
Did a good job.
Right. So I mean, hell, I'm so white, my beard's white. Right. Right. Well, so listen, it to me, I was more frustrated, first of all, that you're paying, it's a private school. You're paying a lot of money. Take your kid out the school, first of all. Right. The second of all, what? This is ridiculous. Now, do it the correct way. Get a curriculum that we have talked about on this show that says, listen, it wasn't jungle people who, you know what I'm saying? This was kings, queens, people of honor, babies, you know, it was everybody. So teach it the right way, come at it correctly. But all you're doing is instilling hate now into these. You're making white supremacists out of these white kids who are now going to hate
that they went to this school. They had to hear that how.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. That's my take on it. But I think I was more upset about the segregation of it.
Yeah.
than I was. Hey, you want to teach it? Let mix them all up, but only give cupcakes to
Kids with these color T-shirts.
That's right.
First and foremost, I don't think that you should teach kids that they're racist because they were born white. Like that's, I don't even know where they learned that from, because I see plenty of kids who are mixed or white and black play together at playground. Like, zero concern
It's
of
taught.
skin color. It's taught. I would also be interested, though, however, to hear what the curriculum is, because just because it's not what traditional schools teach, if it is the history by the numbers, and now certain people feel a certain way, then that's a different conversation. Because obviously not to this extent, but a lot of what we're taught in school, and we've had this conversation, is almost the flip side of what the school is doing. That, hey, you're a minority, your group does this bad, your group does this bad, your group does this bad, and the whites are the saviors. So if this school is teaching, all right, if we're just going to go by numbers, just understand this, and those kids can't handle that.
Yeah.
You're asked to accept the same truth that I'm taught at my high school.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? That's my only word. Yes, don't teach it in such a hateful way, but understand for a lot of kids that go to a school that they're outnumbered in our area, it's sometimes what school feels like.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that, and that's why I'm kind of excited to see,
because if like, for instance, like
that we're going to be taught history,
right? If they're saying, well, this president wasn't as wonderful as we said, and this guy really didn't discover, this is actually what he did, and this is actually who he was. Oh, that's white shaming. No, that's history.
That's history.
The same way that we would want you to know the history of this awful African-American person, and this is what he did, so this is why we don't. Is that what white shaming is for that school?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody needs to be pissed off, it needs to be the Native Americans. These people should be I mean, we've treated them horribly, right? Here, you just stand in this little corner.
Stay here.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for your house. It's now ours. Yeah. Melissa says, I can see what they're trying to do and teach how they may have made POC feel. Right. People of color. Right. But it's definitely extreme. I don't like the separation. Yeah. Right. All of that, Phil. All of that. Yeah. You have to know the past in order to better the future. Right. But you have to know the whole truth.
Right. Not just the selective sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've seen where when we say certain things about certain American heroes, oh, that's blasphemy. No, it's the same thing how when the dude who was murdered, you guys brought up his past and why it was just right for him to be killed. Years later, all this happened. Okay, so we should be able to tell you that this guy was a rapist and looted graves.
Right.
Well, now you don't want me to be proud of my heritage.
Right.
I just want you to know the whole history.
Well, yeah, or I mean, even bring it into today's world, you get half the population. Well, he was a thug. He was a gang member. He was on drugs. He was dangerous. He had 16 arrests. Okay, so what about the cop who had
13? 17.
Right. Well, what about that? That's not part of your message? So the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and what we've had is not that.
Right. So that's where to go with your point. Why is his rap sheet condemnable? Yeah. But his rap sheet doesn't matter.
Now, I sit here. I ain't got the money to send my kids to. I don't have the money to send my kids to private school. So if you want to, you can send something here. Just write a check to Kent at 2160. But you're paying. That's your choice. You don't like it, pull your kid out. Your kid doesn't get it. Little Bobby comes home, crying because he didn't get a cupcake, and you go and talk to the administration, and they go, you don't get a cupcake either, Mr. Jones. Right. I mean, I'm taking my money and taking my kid out of here. Screw you.
We've seen, especially, I know this year, we've seen so many cases where the school who made the little boy clean the toilets, the only black kid in the class had to clean the toilets. Hey, you're on my face about cupcakes?
Yeah.
This kid had to clean poop.
Yeah. Well, and there's always the one-offs, right? And we can always battle. We say that,
Yeah.
right? There's always hey, wait a minute, more white people have been shot by police this year,
Right.
you know. So what about the little, you know? Okay, yeah, here's the issue. And Gary, I'm going to steal one of your lines. Until we start putting race in front of country, we stop doing that. African American, Black American, Asian American. Until we just start saying American, nothing's going to change. And listen, the naivety to think that nobody lived in this huge continent before Christopher Columbus rolled in,
right?
Ridiculous, right? There were many of thousands of people and Asians living on the west coast of this great land while the Europeans were coming in from the east.
Right.
But we hear about the colonies, right? So we hear about the European part of history. We don't hear about, well, you know, Texas was Mexico.
Right. So that was that.
So a lot of people there already, right? We don't hear that. And here's when it comes to education, and I love history. You're a history major. I want the truth. Gary says you have to know the past in order to get better. I want the truth.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you this. My God doesn't make mistakes. He made me white. She made me white. The Spirit made me white. I didn't have a choice in that.
Right.
I don't pick my parents, right? So the interesting thing is, if you're a true red-blooded American,
I feel like you should have said America right there.
America.
There you go.
You want to know the truth. You want to know what the history is. Listen. I sit here and say, there were Mexicans in Canada. There were people in Canada.
Right.
It wasn't just a European that came in.
Right.
And you stop to scratch your head and go, well, that's interesting, isn't it? You know.
How don't we speak on this? Why do we keep teaching something that's clearly contradictory?
Well, yeah. Why can't we teach history from the West Coast to the East Coast for a few years?
They don't want to do that.
What happens?
They don't want to do that.
Why can't we do it from the southern border to the northern border for a year?
They don't want to have the conversations. Asians, Native Americans, Hispanics, and Africans here long before Christopher Columbus.
Yes.
And if you have to ask yourself where they went, then you have to find out a body count number.
Right.
Then it's hard to call everybody else the savages.
Yeah. So I think that I would be hungry for that. Right. Look at that. Filipinos were already in California from around 1587 onwards. There you go. Chinese arrived and settled in Hawaii about 1778. Oh. No, they didn't. They bombed us in 1941. I know it's the Japanese. Anyway, all right. Shayna, how do you find truth if history is written by the... Hey, we've heard it. History is written by the winners. Right? And back in those days, very much... Well, it's not. Maybe we're reverting back to that with how much gun violence there is. But, it was a battle. You came in and you marched. Right? You shot people who fought with axes. Funny, you bring an axe to a gunfight. Pop. Right? So, interesting. Filipinos also served under Andrew Jackson's army in the War of 1812. When was that war? And they were the artillery gunners at the Battle of New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that, Gary, I don't know why they teach you that in Singapore. They don't teach us that here.
Sure don't.
Hey, thanks for knowing our history better than us. I appreciate that. All the way from Singapore, everybody. And that doesn't teach racism. It teaches tunnel vision, and it gives you a very small view, and that's the way that it's been taught for years upon years upon years upon years upon years.
Right.
The European history of America,
Right.
Not the Asian history, not the African. And believe me, there were probably African people here in the United States that stumbled across here somehow or some way that were here well before Christopher Columbus as well, or that came. I mean, right. And we're living off the land. That yes, Europe had all the technology and whatnot, right? So Gary says all this historical everywhere out there. So whether one is willing to go read, understand, or learn it, right? However, here in America, when you're in a school system, my daughter learns Common Core math because that's what they teach. We learn European history because that's what they teach. And if we question a teacher, how dare you question me? Detention.
Right.
This is what the textbook says. This is Bible.
1492 for life.
Right. Right. And again, I don't like to say the word reform. You change things. And guess what, Phil? You have spoken publicly. You inspire people with your writings and your speaking and your business. Change is uncomfortable, and it hurts, right? But in order to get that change, you got to go through it. It's necessary. And it's okay listen to me, America. It's okay for you to say, I don't know. That's interesting. Let me look into that.
Right. I don't know for sure that other people weren't there besides Europeans. Let's look into it. So like what Shayna answered your question, like Gary is saying, when you hear certain conversations, look into it. Is there evidence of other settlers in America prior to Christopher Columbus? And see what you find. I heard someone say, how can I accept everything that I've been taught? It's a lie. So
this is a true problem.
It's a true problem. Nobody will accept everything taught is a lie, so they won't bother to face the truth.
And you know what? It really depends on the home. I have 4 children, and 3 of them are adults now. But growing up, starting when they're in school, I tell them, whatever your teacher is telling you, there's another side to that story. Look into it. Ask, question everything, right? Bree, Coach, how are you? I've learned the way curriculum is set up, at least in Illinois. Even if you're a teacher who wants to teach all of these unsung histories, there isn't enough time. So this is something admin needs to be held responsible for. That's why you're not a teacher.
Right. There's enough time in the curriculum to tell you that Christopher Columbus was the savior. But there's not enough time in the day to get into the hundreds of thousands of people who were here prior to his arrival. Sorry, kids, that's class for the day. Like, I can't.
Recess.
I'm good.
So the issue, Bree, and let me put it out there this way, is schools are funded. Schools don't make money, and they're funded if you pass the test. So I have to teach what's on that test, and you have to get good enough grades in order for us to get money.
Right.
So until that system changes and every school gets the same amount of money no matter what your tests are,
right,
then we're always gonna not have enough time to teach truth.
Till we create a historical platform.
Yeah.
That kids are educated by the real truth.
Yeah, and Gary's
creates that.
Gary's just responded to Ash there. That's why the skill of critical thinking has been dumbed down or reduced in the U.S. society as a whole. Oh yeah. Don't Don't think.
If I can get you to stop thinking.
Right. Don't think. Right. Follow the money trail. Absolutely. Always. Right. Who's it? Who's supporting? Monsanto, whatever, the big corporations. Right. So to me, okay, as a parent, take this for what it's worth. If you have children, or thinking about having children, it's not the school's job to educate your child. It's yours. You need to be involved in what your child is learning. You need to be able to tell your child the truth. Okay? You need to be able to help your child ask questions to the teacher where they don't feel offended because they're the teacher.
Right.
Okay? You need to put your phone down, turn the TV off while your child is doing their homework and learn what they're learning, or help figure it out. Right? And when a kid comes to you and says, I need your help, and you look at them and go, okay, well, you're going to help me? You haven't done anything yet.
Right.
You want me to do it for you. I'm not going to. Show me what you do. I'll show you where you went wrong, or I'll show you why it's right. Right? But until parents, I get that there are single parents, until you're involved in and understand that the education of your child is your responsibility and never stops. I've got grown adults, and I talk with them, and they hit their head and they have life situations. Well, let's walk through that.
Right.
Hey, there was a situation with my family where Alice's Facebook got hacked. She goes, go to this Facebook page. I'm like, I am busy. I took Facebook off my phone, right? Because I don't want to have any of that. I'm done with the drama, right? And here's the whole thing. I go to this Facebook page. I get on the computer. I go to the Facebook page, and I see pictures of my girls on somebody else's feed. I go ballistic, right? And it says interest women. Okay, so I walk out. So you got to do this. You got to let Facebook know that this is happening, and then we have to have conversations with our 3 daughters, because this is how sex trafficking works, right? So we have to have conversations now with our 3 daughters and say, listen, you see anything odd, weird, you hit 911. I don't care. Immediately. It's real deal, right? There are some people just be like, it was a thing, they copied, whatever. No. It's real out there, right? My wife's like, I don't know. I go, oh, yeah. You better know.
Schaumburg's a hotspot.
You better know, right? Thank you. Yes, thank you. Bree says, yeah, teaching and creating content that students actually care about, pique their interest, will also help raise their grades. Oh, absolutely. And they don't want – listen, kids nowadays, they have the world at their fingertips. They want to know the truth. They don't want to know the whitewash mushy shushy, right?
Mushy shushy.
That's it. I learned way more about life from Bob than any school. Absolutely. You better believe it. Yes, it is up to us parents. Then my kids have questioned the teachers and brought up something isn't correct. They aren't congratulated for it. It's brushed under the rug. Then the child becomes discouraged and to speak because they are looked at differently because they know different knowledge. Yeah. No, that's why I said you have to teach them how to talk to, right? So teachers, I love them. They're great, but they've never left school. Think about it. I've been in school my whole life. I went to college, and now I'm still in school. I mean, Phil and I will laugh. As businessmen, there are professors in college who teach you how to be an entrepreneur who've never left school, never opened a business. Right? That's interesting. So I have my children, and this is just an example. When they disagree with something, instead of saying why, I don't get that, I ask them to, you phrase it like this to your teacher. Could you help me understand why it's that way? Teachers want to teach. They don't want to be questioned. So if you help them, words are very strong. So if you help them learn how to phrase questions to get into somebody's head the right way.
It's got to be an after class thing.
Absolutely.
They're not going to want to be shown up, especially by a kid.
Especially
on something they're supposed to be a specialist at.
Yeah.
And then what?
That wasn't in the curriculum.
Yeah, and then ask the teacher when you talk to them privately if we can have a class discussion about this side of the argument tomorrow. And they're probably going to say no, but at least you had that opportunity to kind of get that ball rolling on that conversation. But it's got to be after class, because I've seen history teachers that really, really get irate when you point out simple things like, hey, there were thousands of people found before this dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, look at, gosh, this flew by, right?
Right.
Man, thank you, everybody, for jumping in and know that, absolutely humbled and blessed to spend some time with us on Friday morning. And trust me, the court of law was upheld on that case, but we still got a lot of work to do as a people, as a nation. And I love each and every one of you. And please, if you ever feel like you want to be on the show, there's always empty seat, open mics for you. So come on in. We'd love to. But stick around at noon today. Dream Home Experts tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Metaphysical Meanderings, and have a psychic ask. Come in and ask the master psychic if things are going to change. That's a good way to do it. For all of us here, 21.6 Net. Thanks for popping in.